Big part of your break building is obviously trying to actually split the pack open. During a frame, especially at the beginning of a game when the reds are still quite tight together, we're going to have to either pot a couple of reds and colours, or and quite early, going to have to try and pot a colour or a red, and like I say, split open the pack to try and keep the break going. So in today's video, I'm going to go through quite a few different shots of how you can do that, the main ways of how to play them, and like I say, trying to keep your break going. The first shot we're going to look at is if we're got a blue into the middle pocket and the white is nice and high. This is where I want to be, to try and play like a firm stun shot off the blue, and want the white to cannon the pink as full as we can, and hopefully that's going to have the biggest impact really of spreading the reds around the table. So I've just put a few reds on here. Say, like I say, it could be the start of a game where you've potted a couple of reds, and then like you see, you're looking at how can I maybe keep that break going. So obviously these are quite hard shots to play because there's a lot of power involved, and we've got to get the right tip position. So going back to me previous video about stun shots, obviously this is another like variation of stun we're going to play to get the cue ball down to cannon the pink correctly and try and open the reds nicely to, like I say, continue the break. So like I say, quite a lot of power in the shot, and we'll see if we can split them open. So this one quite low on the white, quite hard, and you can see there I've managed to disturb quite a lot of the reds. I mean, I'm a little bit unlucky, sorry, in this instance, as in I'm not actually perfect on a red. That's the thing, you are trusting a bit to luck when you play these shots. But to be honest with you, I hit that pretty much as well as I wanted. So I wouldn't think, right, I'm going to do something massively different there just because I haven't landed on the red. You can see that I think there was 10, 11 reds on the table, and I've moved all of them. It's just I'm a little bit unlucky at how that's landed. But like I say, I'm going to go through quite a few different shots of how you need to play these colours and develop the reds. Again, when we're splitting the pack, one of the things you need to make sure is we've obviously got a nice angle to go into them. So I would say that, you know, it's quite a lot of angle what you want to go into them directly off the blue. So you can see here, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, probably a good 5 balls width off straight on the blue, and I think that's a good angle. So around that area, obviously again you can experiment moving the cue ball different places, which I'll also show you. But I'm just going to give you an example here of obviously if I go a bit lower on the cue ball, then we might not get the cannon. So a little bit lower. You can see there, I've gone down and missed the pack on this side of the table because basically I've started playing a screw shot. So I've got the same angle again, and then if I go a little bit too high on this one, you can see there it's went too far forward, and it's went down to that side of the table. So again, this is about obviously a bit of cue ball control and learning exactly what part of the cue ball you want to hit to get that cue ball to go straight down to cannon the pink. Actually, a really good way of practicing this, of how you can, about potting the blue and going into the pack, you can literally just practice potting the blue and just going down and trying to cannon the pink actually on its own. Because when you're playing the shot off the blue to split the pack, your target is always to hit the pink. Then that obviously carries in to hit the rest of the reds. Your target is never to pot the blue and actually cannon the side of the pack, if that's how it is in a game. If you've got the pink on the spot, you always want to hit the pink, because like I say, that's going to sort of do the most sort of disruption through the reds. So if you can do this shot with potting the blue and cannon the pink on its own, you know that you're hitting it exactly how you want to do. So I'm little bit lower than I would say a sort of normal stun. So you can see there, I've gone down and I have actually hit the pink. So that would be a decent shot. It's come off a little bit off the side of the pink. You can see where the cue ball's finished, how it's finished down that side of the table there. So I would maybe, if I was going to work on that, like I say, and a really good thing to practice is I would go a fraction lower just to try and hit that pink as full as possible. Then I know that would be, like I say, the perfect shot from that high blue to try and split the pack open and get the reds moved and try and keep your break going. So just like I said before, one of the first thing really is obviously assessing the angle on the blue. So this time I haven't got as much angle. So basically that shot I've just played is going to be a lot harder because the angle's not really there to force the cue ball, and it wouldn't have as much momentum on it when it travels and hits the pink. So I wouldn't get as much disruption on the reds. So from this sort of angle here, I would actually play a slightly different shot, and I would play a top spin of 2 cushions and hit the reds that way, because doing it that way, there's going to be, the cue ball is going to have a lot more speed on it rather than stunning direct off like less of an angle. So nice and high on the cue ball, trying to come off 2 cushions. So you can see there, it's come round off the 2 cushions, and I've managed to disrupt a couple of reds, but because I've got less angle on the blue, obviously I've had to play that with a bit of power and, like I say, a different kind of shot. So your expectations are probably going to have to be a little bit lower of what you can actually do. You can see there, I haven't been able to move that many reds there because it's just a harder shot. The cue ball hasn't got quite as much momentum on it by the time it's got to the reds. So even in that position, I would be fairly happy because I've got a red like into the centre pocket. So again, just assessing the angle on the blue is going to dictate which kind of shot you're going to play. So this time I've got even less angle on the blue, so there's no way I'm going to be able to stun it and go directly into the pack straight down the table. So I'm just going to play another top spin shot, but this time just go off the 1 cushion and try and come into the reds. But again, like I say, you're probably going to be a little bit less likely to move all of them reds. You're just really trying to see if you can flick one out and leave yourself a shot. So nice and high on the cue ball, a lot of power. So quite a good contact on the reds, but you see how it's stuck a little bit. I have got like a red in the centre pocket here, so like you see, your results are going to be quite mixed whichever way you do it. Especially the ones coming off the cushions, you are going to be probably less likely to have a better outcome. But I definitely think it's worth playing about and experimenting from them different angles of you can still maybe play like a cannon to try and keep your break going. So obviously another common way of splitting the pack would be from a low black like this. So again, when I set this up, this first one especially, I'm putting it in what I would call like an ideal sort of position where I feel like I've got a nice angle where the cue ball is going to have a lot of momentum on it once it's left the black and went at the red. So I've put the white pretty much parallel with like the black cushion, and about halfway between the cushion and the black. So if you are just practicing on your own, you know, you can literally just set these shots up yourself and have a go at them. Obviously, it can be a little bit of a pain having to put the reds back and stuff, but it's definitely part of the game, I think, is worth practicing, especially if you're someone that wants to obviously make your breaks higher. So on a low black like this, one of the things obviously you need to have a look at as well is what the pack is like itself. So at the minute, how I've got these reds set up, it's not actually a very good pack to go into because it's quite a flat back to the pack. So it's difficult to try and get the white hit them and obviously move a lot of them. It's a bit like sometimes the white's hitting a brick wall. So it is quite important how we play the shot. What most people do on this kind of shot is play like a bit of a screw shot, where they'll come off, they'll hit the reds, but quite often it'll screw back and it maybe come back down this side of the table. That's not really what we want. Because you're obviously going to leave the cue ball in a bad place as well. Also, what you can look at is you don't really want to be hitting right in the middle of the pack either, because like I say, you basically, the white's like hitting a brick wall because the amount of reds that's there, there's more reds there, so it's just a bit like, it's just a heavier object to hit. So what I would prefer to try and do on this kind of shot would be a bit more of a stun, but come through probably the end red, or definitely the second one or the last one in the white to come out. That's the end of that side of the table. So I would basically, again, through practice, know where to have my tip to do that shot. Obviously, again, quite a lot of power, but I really want to try and hit the reds, but the cue ball to come out as well. So let's try that. So not bad, as you can see there. I've done what I said. I've stunned through the edge of the pack. So the good thing is the cue ball has stayed high in the table. It hasn't stuck in the bottom of the pack, or it hasn't come down the bottom end of the table, because it stayed sort of higher in the sort of middle part of this table here. You can see obviously that I've got the red in the middle there. So sometimes you've got to be careful and not really expect as well to open all of the reds there in the middle of the table. I think especially in the clubs on, again, slower cloths and heavier cloths, where you can't get loads of screw back. Like you see obviously on the telly, like Judd Trump playing a shot where he screws through the pack, and the white will almost like screw and keep going through the pack and split them all open. The fact is you can't really play that shot on most club tables because of the conditions, and like I say, with the cloths and everything. So you're much better off playing a slightly higher stun shot, where the cue ball is going to contact the reds but then move out away through, and you've got much more chance, like I say, of keep your break going. So ideally you would probably want to be on a low black like I did before if you're going to go into the pack, but also there is a chance from a high black. So because I'm so high this time, we can come off the cushion and try and get the white into the pack, but I think this shot is quite a lot harder to pot the black, and just to get the cue ball off the cushion into the reds is definitely harder, but it's still a shot worth practicing. But like I say, maybe your expectations will be a little bit lower on the result of the shot, because the main thing, like I say, is just potting the black, see if we can get a couple of reds out. So you can see there, I've potted the black, hit it reasonably hard. I didn't want to hit it too much harder than that really, otherwise I might start obviously missing the black as well. So I've got a red in the centre pocket, so I'd probably take that. It's just one of them shots where you want to control the pace. So if you do end up getting on a red, like I say, it's a chance to keep the break going. So another way you can also look out for trying to develop the reds, which I think is actually, this kind of shot I think is becoming more and more popular, especially when you're watching the professionals on the TV, is sometimes if they've got a red, as you can see here, just below the pack, trying to leave the cue ball like a little bit low to basically pot the red. I'm going to try and play with screw back so it hits the reds and comes back out for the black in the same pocket. This shot, like I say, can be really effective as well. So it's definitely something to look out for if you're in a game or practicing. Reds just below the pack, these can be pretty good option as well. Nice and low, quite a lot of pace again. So you see there, I've potted the red, quite a good screw through the pack. I've actually managed to disrupt quite a lot of the reds there. That's why I think it's a pretty good option actually, because the red is obviously already pretty close to the pack. That's why you're getting so much disruption as well. And the spin you're putting on the ball is really taking effect quickly and straight away. And I've screwed back maybe a little bit too much obviously. So obviously I wouldn't want to be close to the side cushion here for the black, but that's the kind of thing is going to happen now and then, because it's a bit unpredictable when you're playing that cannon off the pack, exactly how much pace you're going to, how much pace to get the cue ball to come back. But I always prefer to slightly overhit it, because I'd rather overscrew the cue ball than say underscrew it and it finished say middle of the table and I'm on nothing. So like I say, that's just another way of like going to the pack, and I think it can be really useful. So another way, obviously, you can go into the pack, and quite a rare way of doing it is off the ball colours, and not many people obviously try this shot, one because it is a hard shot, but I think also people need to start, to be honest, just practicing a bit more. And I think practicing is obviously a lot about experimenting. So you can, I think if you've been playing a while in that, you can quite quickly get the sense of these kind of shots. So the first thing, again, with all these shots I've talked through today, is the angle has to be right to do the shot, like I showed you earlier with the blues and then the blacks, and now like the ball colours. So you can obviously do this off the yellow, the green or the brown, where you're going to be coming off the side cushion, and like I say, trying to contact the pack and see if we can open a few reds out. Now, one of the reasons this does get a little bit harder is because I would definitely recommend trying to play with a little bit of side spin, because once the white ball hits the cushion, we want the white to try and actually accelerate once it's hit the cushion as well. So from this side of the table, if I play this with a bit of like stun and left hand side, then that's going to send the cue ball off this side cushion. And like I say, I'm trying to get it down into the pack to see if we can again keep the break going. So quite a hard shot, but I would say, again, looking at like different variations of stun, I'm probably going to go a little bit lower just to try and get the contact point on the cushion where I want. So I've done pretty much exactly what I wanted there, and again you can just see why these shots are difficult, and we're always trusting it with a little bit of luck. So I've come off the cushion, I've hit the reds pretty much, pretty full in where I want. Just been a little bit unlucky that the cue ball sort of slid off the side of the pack and it's finished on the bottom there of the table there. But again, for practice wise, I know I've played the shot how I wanted, and if it was in a game, I wouldn't have really played that shot any differently. As long as I've potted the yellow and the cue ball's gone exactly the direction I've wanted, then that's obviously all I can do. Don't look at that and think we've played the shot really wrong or anything. Like I say, we're slightly trusting luck when we play these shots. So if you want to take your, like say, break build at the next level, really, it's okay picking off a few open reds here and there and trying to make a break, but probably sooner or later in an actual frame, you're going to have to try and develop the reds and open them up as well. So it's part of the game where I think if you want to start getting to them sort of 50 plus breaks especially, that's an area of the game I think you probably need to have a look at and add it to your sort of practice routine. I don't really see hardly any sort of amateurs practicing that side of the game. They're always just practicing the lineups and the open red situation, which is all good practice as well. But I don't see any harm in trying to sort of like introduce that into part of your, like I say, your practice routine and your different scenarios you're going to look at. Like I say, you're trusting a bit of luck, but as long as you're playing the shot in the right way, you are going to get some good results there now and then and keep the break going. So hope that's give you a bit of a good idea of how you can go about it and playing different shots from the colours, and like I say, the red as well, where you can go into the pack. So there's quite a lot of different ways of doing it. And like I say, try that out and give it some practice. As usual, leave us a comment below if there's anything else you want to see us have a go at or go through that you think I haven't done already. And make sure you subscribe to the channel.